Okay, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Dungeon Doom Hands Let's Talk Lore, where we talk about various topics relating to Dungeons & Dragons gameplay. I'm Spencer.
And I'm Chris, and our goal is to give you a short episode to enhance your gameplay. Let's get after it.
Let's go! Alright, I think we're live. Welcome back. Another episode of Dungeon Doom Hands Let's Talk Lore, episode 4. I'm Spencer, and this is...
And I'm Chris. Let's get after it.
Yeah, let's get after it. What topic did you want to discuss today, Chris?
Hold on, let me pull up my notes. I had it and then I lost it. So, some lore questions.
Lore question. Okay.
Lore.
Okay. Lore. Let's do it.
The Shadowhide Realm.
Okay. Viewers, if you don't know what the Shadowhide Realm is, Chris and I are in a 3 to 3.5 year campaign. Homebrewed, everything's homebrewed. We have built the world together slowly. I have slowly started to trust the players to help me build the world we're in, like all Dungeon Masters should do eventually. And one realm in that world is called the Shadowhide Realm.
Mm-hmm.
This is the name of the episode. What do you want to talk about? What kind of questions do you have?
So the first question I had, and I didn't even see the title. First question I had is about the feud, the war between the Centaurs, Minotaurs, and Orcs.
Okay.
So my question about that is, I know you draw your inspiration in all of the different factions. So what was your inspiration with the 3 different groups?
Well, you got to remember, you guys had just left the Artemisian Forest where you found the Green Skull. And I had split up the skull, and you'll, viewers, there's a previous episode where we go into the backstory of the whole thing, where this power skull that was given down to Agoth Doomhand to choose between goddesses, that was created by the evil Lord Bane, who's a god of, I guess, just pretty much an evil dude. The skull was split up into multiple pieces, so forming their own skulls. The green skull was found in the forest, and that related to nature and life, and Chris had the pleasure of playing I think he had the pleasure.
Very much was a pleasure.
Yeah, of playing a character who had a relationship to the Green Skull. I've scripted this story so that each character has a unique relationship to a specific portion of that large skull to try to keep their characters close to the story while we create this world around us. Anyway, the Shadowhide Realm is the second large realm that we go into after the forest, and it's mostly desert, and it's the home of the Orcs, the Minotaurs, and the Centaurs. And I decided that they would be in war, knowing that you guys had chose the Red Skull to go after next. Mm-hmm. And since the Red Skull and the relationship with the color red and all the meanings behind it, you have rage, war, love, the mythology behind that, I felt like the land needed to be in war. And what better war than a water war between the Orcs, the Minotaurs, and the Centaurs. So that was the reasoning behind the fights, or the war rather. But there was a lot of other things that went on in that desert. During this particular portion of the game, this was when I kind of opened it up a little bit. I felt like after playing almost, 6 months, maybe longer with you guys, I felt like I knew everyone. I kind of know their playing styles, knew what they were after. So I felt a little bit easy giving a little bit up to let your characters sort of define
where everything goes.
Yeah, not necessarily like the areas, but like, where do you guys want to go? What do you want to do? Like, I had no idea you guys were going to side with Orcs or Minotaurs and Centaurs. And I also wanted to introduce a god in that area, And I wanted to use Shar, even though Shar is found mostly in like the underworld. She's sort of like the hidden mistress of the night. She's really evil, very manipulative. I think her whole idea is, and I might be wrong, is very secretive, and she sort of is about the void, nothingness. So her symbol is the red ring, or the purple ring with the black in it. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. Please put some comments down if I'm wrong. Please correct me. I will make sure that some NPC shows up to correct someone. No promises whether or not he dies immediately. About the fact that I think that black circle within the purple ring is supposed to be symbolic of the void. And how Shar, the goddess, gets there is to just, manipulate and destroy all things. And I wanted to emphasize mostly the manipulative portion of it. You don't really ever see Shar until the Centaura, where all the centaurs are sort of worshipping. They're going through I think there's it's called the Nightfall ceremony. I forgot exactly what ceremony that was, but yeah, it's the big sacred ceremony where some sacrifice is made, and perhaps the avatar of Shar shows up, which she did. It turns out that you guys, just as I didn't plan this, you guys sided with her, as I believe Lucky Ivo ran out of the building. He was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
And she followed him, trying to destroy it. But anyway, I had the centaurs worship her. The orcs were worshiping her. And the Minotaurs were sort of stuck in the middle. And what was unique about the Shadowhide realm was that there was a specific trick in the only water pool in the desert that was around to sustain, your thirst and survive. This water had a specific power to it that allowed the person to take a piece of flesh from another being, mix it with the water, and turn into that being, still remaining conscious of oneself, but you could turn into a minotaur, you could turn into a orc. So in that way, I tried to stay true to Shar's manipulation and manipulative ways of going about doing things.
The whole feud and Shar's manipulation, and that potion, the liquid, made for some interesting, fun interactions. No one trusted anyone in the desert, not even people of their own faction.
So I had a question. You guys went through the desert. You met this guy named Sidney Crosby. Don't ask me why I chose Sidney Crosby. I think it was because the Rangers were in the playoffs, and that seemed like a good name. Spoiler alert: he died very gruesomely. We can talk about that later. But he ran through the desert and was leading you guys toward what looked like to be a orc fighting some minotaurs. And we had that Halloween special where we had Mason Voorhees that fight. It turned out when he died, he turned into, he just sort of like disintegrated.
He sunk down into the sand.
Yeah. He came up from that water, of that area. Did you guys know where you were? Did you know that you were in a Minotaur station where they were trying to identify who was orc and who was
in the precinct?
Yes.
Or like the screen?
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that we knew that the Minotaurs were in charge there, because I think when we're outside, we saw some Minotaurs beat up and kill someone.
Yeah. So
and saw a transformation.
Yeah, when people died, so the only way that you could tell as to whether or not someone was who they really were was essentially if they died or the potion wore off. But this potion is so strong, Mason Voorhees, that
the manifestation of Shar's evil.
Yes, exactly. So once you drink it, you're pretty much stuck until you go through a separate sort of magic field or whatnot that was in the Minotaur station. which was interesting because you guys decided to all turn into other things. Once you figured that out, it was hilarious. Aaron was like, I'm going to take a little bit of this orc skin, a little bit of this other guy's skin.
Yeah, it just started becoming like a creepy serial killer collection box. Like
So
various
funny.
strips of skin,
And,
each one labeled.
what was that?
Each piece of skin was labeled. You knew who it was from, what creature it was.
I had written down, I'm trying to find them here, I had written down quotes, like I always do. I always research. I find it easier to start with, like, you know, the greats than the literature, and also just like quotes. Like, let's get a bunch of war quotes out there. There's a bunch of like Full Metal Jacket quotes. I was like, can't really use that Private Pile in this one, but it was very, very funny. But I ended up going into this like station, and I wanted the station to feel sort of like, not necessarily like an Auschwitz, but like if you weren't a Minotaur, you were going to get thoroughly interrogated. Just so everyone was trying to just hide and lie to each other, and so on and so forth. There was that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids moment. You guys, so what happened was you snuck in, you were following Sidney Crosby, and he went into a room and there was nothing. You couldn't see anything but this crystal. You touched the crystal and you guys shrunk down to little miniature yourselves, and you walked in through the cracks, past some mice, and you found this massive
The Minotaur at his
making
potion table.
How did you like that? Is that a good? This was
Yeah,
the first time I feel like I took directly from the movies in the Shadowhide realm. Like I had Mason Voorhees, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It felt very much like it was a puzzle to be solved at that point. Like when we were that small and the only other creature was a massive Minotaur, we're like, okay. And we soon found out that as little creatures, he could easily kill us. So it felt like we had to be careful, be stealthy, and figure out this puzzle as quick as we could.
Yeah, I really want to get this these quotes. They're absolutely hilarious. So when you walk through the Minotaur station, the precinct, I was actually had in mind that they were like old cops, just trying to, like, you know, we had a clip before in a previous episode where I was trying to figure out, like, okay, now how close are we going to go to being like ultra nerd? Is there a language for Minotaur? So you turn into a Minotaur, but do you start talking Minotaur? Do you forget your language? So I felt like we had that conversation, and I think that we came to the conclusion that you can all talk Minotaur. It wasn't, you know, it's like if you were to just turn into a different animal.
I think that's where the accent stuff came in. It's like you may not speak Minotaur, like you may not be able to speak the language, but you can try and fake it by the player actually trying the accent, what the Minotaurs were.
Okay, so what?
Because it's like we didn't know like their language, but we still could try and play off that we were them as best we could with like actually doing that terrible accent.
That was hilarious.
Was that the New Yorker one?
Yeah, that was the Brooklyn. Hey, how you doing? So whenever they talked, that was great. They got a good role play, and that's also like important because it kind of like stretched the boundaries of our role play as a group. Putting you guys through that, putting me through that, kind of like let me know and everyone else know that, like, okay, this is going to be happening now. Moving forward. So here's a quote. The Minotaur says, "Spies are liars who strive to make their end games justify their means. Just assume the information is more." This was taken straight from one of those cop shows. It's so funny. What a great... So many quotes. One of them's like, "I'm too old for this shit." Another one said, they were like, dang it, Chip, she got away again." And like, I kept on throwing these in, but I don't think anyone picked up on them.
No, we did not pick up. We were so focused on everything else.
So another example of like I might have over prepared for this one.
Well, here's a question. Did you enjoy saying those quotes at the time?
Oh, absolutely hilarious.
then it wasn't over preparing because you have fun, and you get to have fun as a DM.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
So even if you do stuff in the game for yourself, that's okay. You can have fun too.
Oh yeah, and so when you guys left the labyrinth, or the processing center, that's when you ran into Doomhand, and I had planned a Doomhand encounter. Didn't know quite how that was going to go, but that was the first time that I showed you his real strength. Now you gotta remember.
Now I remember that fight.
He had left and was able to rejuvenate and everything. He came back. As a DM playing at level 20 wizard against people who are level 6, sure, you gotta hold your punches, obviously. So that's when I had the Red Sage come through. And the Red Sage, this was my favorite part, the Red Sage was actually a combination. He was part Minotaur, part Orc, and part Centaur. And he was supposed to be the love portion of that red that I spoke about earlier, and bring the cultures together, sort of sync with Pargu. But I had him almost sacrifice himself for Aranis when he was cornered by the skeleton Doomhand, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that's when you guys took his head. That old quote. What was the quote for the sages? Take my head, take my skull.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I remember it. Who remembers it?
Take my head, take my skull. Yeah.
Something like that.
So whenever you want to get the skull from the sage, you have to decapitate him and take the piece of skull out of his head. So these sages actually have absorbed these pieces of skulls into their mind. So you actually have to kill the sage or have the sage sacrifice herself or himself in order to do that, which is kind of cool. It sets up that roleplay interaction where you don't really want to do it. Like in the Artemisian Forest, you got a note that said you have to convince Gabriella to kill herself, which was sick.
That was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the White Sage was a little different.
Yeah, the White Sage was, she's all about the start. Shadowhide Realm. And you know what's funny? I had a whole bunch of shadow monsters coming up. You guys did not, again,
nope.
Prepared. Did not see that coming. But
you did have one that was terrifying, the one that sucked people into the stone.
What was your favorite part of the Shadowhide Realm? Like, what are your things that you remember?
My favorite part was the Deck of Many Things.
Oh, of course.
That whole, we finally get away from Doomhand. Was Doomhand before or after that? I think it was Doomhand was before that.
Yeah, Doomhand was before that.
Before that. So then we get 2 orc guides who are leading us to Centaur Place or somewhere. I think it was there. We come across this on the way, and on traversing one map, they both get engulfed in flames at separate times and torched. We find this frozen deck with a place where you could put your hand on it. And so it put our hand on the color associated with the skull that we were. So at that time I was Lone Star. So I put my hand on the green skull, Aranis is on the red, and we could draw from the Deck of Many Things.
Yeah.
And it was only the 3 of us at the time. Aranis, Sprock, and Lone Star. And Aranis and Sprock both got 50,000 XP. I got a freaking demon after myself.
What I liked about that was 2 things. One, when you miss a session, sometimes you miss some good stuff.
Yeah.
So man, I remember when Matt and
Mike.
Yeah, Matt and Mike came back. You missed it.
Yeah.
But one of the main thing that I liked about that was, here I am as a DM. You pull the demon card. The demon card says that you are now possessed. Well, not you're possessed, but you are. A demon is coming to kill you, essentially.
Yeah.
And I was about to take that demon and plop him right onto the map. So as a DM, I was about to make this horrible, horrible mistake and pull the trigger irresponsibly without knowing the power of that actual deck in the hands of the player. And you stopped me. you said, hey, you actually sidebarred me and said, hey, can we maybe make it so the demon slowly possesses you? And that was so cool. That opened up a whole world for me. So DMs, when you're out there and you're doing your thing, listen to your players. The demon slowly, every session would play with Lone Star. He would make him purposefully miss. Every now and then, maybe I had like 1 or 2 times that I could make, I wouldn't make him die, but I would make him miss, or I would make him hit the wrong person, or I would make him say something, or so on and so forth, until it became too overwhelming. Once the time had gone on, it became too overwhelming where you were starting to affect the group. And it took such a long... It was so funny because we actually... You and I kept that secret from the group.
Well,
you started slugging people.
To be fair, Lone Star was a chaotic evil character, and so he was very good at hiding stuff like that, and only when he couldn't hide it anymore. And people were noticing things before that came up. And he talked his way out of like, oh no, that normally happens. So that was a really fun role-playing moment of that. Of like,
funny.
I get to try and hide something from everyone else, and it's great.
So you guys were just about to exit Act 3 or 4. Yeah, Act 3, which was the Shadowhide Realm, and you guys were going to start on your way towards Act 4, which is just past that room. And you had an encounter with a statue, which was essentially like a golem of some kind, and you were about to hit this guy with full force, and I texted you and I was like, you're gonna have to target Matt. And Matt, as soon as you hit Matt, and he just like went
unconscious.
He get unconscious. He was like, wait a minute, why is he doing that? And then you guys decided to.
Well, and then I healed him.
Yeah.
Picked him up, and he didn't say thank you.
That was so good. I forgot when you guys teleported to your homeland, but that's for another story.
That's for another one.
But I think the takeaway here from the Shadowhide Realm was it is very cool to turn into other creatures. It's very cool. It helps with the role play, but also like pay attention to your players. If Chris, you hadn't had said that, then I would have just had an overly powerful villain have to somehow die or kill all you guys. It's not.
Well, I think the thing that caused that is I knew that if you dropped like a demon that you would want to do for that card, it would just wipe us immediately. I'm like, no, we need some time to build up to this.
Oh man, that was such a good card. And like, we're obviously going to come back to this demon at another episode. Maybe the topic will be demons. But man, he was so good. He
was on my shoulder the whole time.
Yeah, the whole entire time, and he was always whispering you something along the lines of, I'm going to take everything that you cherish away from you. And he did. And he did. It was great. What a good roleplay experience that was. Completely homebrewed at the table, not something we planned. That's probably one of the better things that Dungeons & Dragons has to offer.
Yeah. Well, I would say, in summary, the Shadowhide Realm, it showed the beauty of having some flexibility in your structure. You have the foundation, but you threw so much other random and like all the good calls from movies into it, just like dumping all this everything, making this big pot of soup, this gumbo.
Yeah, I just think I was still relatively new, and I think I started small. I did it right. I think the way that you do it, if you're a new DM, start small. I start in a small, tight dungeon so that you don't have to overwhelm yourself with details, and go from there and slowly open up. And we opened up to a massive desert with a lot of stuff going on, and rely on the players. It's great. It's awesome.
Well, from there, it opened up even more.
Don't worry, Chris. We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we might have to. Maybe when we talk about that, we're going to invite one of the other players to join us on the next episode. But until then, stay tuned. DMs, listen to your players. Players, try to expand the world for your DM. Peace.